Hello and welcome to The Breakdown. Happy Father's Day. Looking forward to discussing and debating so many things here tonight on The Breakdown. And we've got a very special guest and we're stoked to have him on. I wasn't sure he was going to make it. Matthew Pearce, the voice of the Springboks. Thanks for joining us, Justin Marshall. He's smiling for one reason and one reason only.
No, come on. Two reasons. Obviously, the All Blacks with a magnificent victory. And as much as my heart's in Southland, the Shield is back in Christchurch, mate, with Canterbury.
Mills, anything you want to say? clearly not happy about it. But Auckland are on the board. Let's congratulate them. They've got their first win of the year. Congratulations to them. Not easy to go and play in Blenheim and get a win there. A really, really important result for them. But important time as well for Caleb Clarke to get critical time with Emoni Narawa, clearly picking up an injury over the weekend. Would you put him straight back in, Justin?
That's a great question, and early in the show as well, Jeff. Yep. I appreciate that. Look, at the end of the day, I think we were discussing whether Caleb Clarke would come in next week. The All Blacks released him. Last week, the All Blacks released him. Lester Fainga'anuku's gone into the mix. I see him as a centre. I don't know about you, Mills, but I would say the answer to that question would be yes. I would bring Caleb Clarke straight back in.
Yeah, there's definitely some positive signs, considering he's played 2 games in a row. The kicking sort of display that we had last night, that would, you'd say would be a valid point to bring Caleb back onto that sort of starting position, if that's where they're going to with the aerial skills. I mean, you've got to remember, Sept was, with Narawa, pushed, Sept off the 23. So you'd have to say, Caleb possibly comes in. There's a really good argument there.
Matt, the fact that we just watched a little bit of NPC rugby, the fact that you've come over, Curry Cup going on at home. When you look at the two competitions, do you see some comparisons?
There certainly are. I mean, just looking at the stadium in Blenheim, and you look at some of the smaller stadiums that have been used in this year's Curry Cup. The semi-finalists were confirmed yesterday after the final round of pool matches, and there's some wonderful stadiums. Kimberley, where the Griquas play, they're a semi-finalist. Boerland, the Cavaliers out in Wellington, in the Winelands, beautiful stadium. I was out there for a Sunday afternoon game, 3 o'clock. It was fantastic. The community's getting involved. So, yeah, look, Curry Cup has some detractors. I still see it as a wonderful breeding ground, if you like, and a place to demonstrate what you can do higher up the ladder.
Like here, do you have the ambition to take it out of the big cities into the smaller
that's
areas?
What they've done, Justin.
Yeah,
so even the Sharks who play at Kings Park in Durban, they've taken some of their Curry Cup games into the Midlands.
That's
and so
cool.
on, and just involving local communities. It's great.
Let's have a look at the results from the weekend that has just gone by. And remember, that's round 6. Counties Manukau got a good win against North Harbour. Otago, another win for them at home against Northland. Hawke's Bay, a good win over Wellington. Manawatu, a very good win at home as well against Waikato. Let's go quickly past Canterbury beating Sept for the Ranfurly Shield. Bay of Plenty were good. Taranaki beat them at home. There's plenty for us to look forward to. Here is what's coming up on tonight's show.
Coming up, we review the All Blacks win at Eden Park and look ahead to the second test. Supersport's Matt Pearce joins the show for a South African perspective. The Wallabies win again. How big a threat are they to the All Blacks? And we join Taylor Curtis in Brighton ahead of the Black Ferns test against Ireland.
You'd have to say it took 81 minutes for the All Blacks to finish the job, to get the job done for the 51st time in a row at Eden Park. So much pressure going into this test match, Justin. So much expectation. There was a lot of hype. Did the game deliver?
Oh, the game delivered. When we talk about the greatest rivalry, and probably the rest of the world is tuning in going, what are you guys talking about? Didn't you see the Springboks and the All Blacks go toe-to-toe like they did at Eden Park? That just brings it out at the utmost in a contest. It was combative, it was physical, HIAs, blood spilt, tense moments within the game. It was just what it's all about. Do you know what I mean? It's weird because I could be sitting here and we didn't win, wouldn't feel satisfied, but I would still feel, what an experience, man. That's what rugby's all about. Springboks, All Blacks. So, yes, it delivered.
Before I just get your thoughts as well, we're going to give you your opportunity, as we have in recent weeks, your shout to get involved. So please scan the QR code. How do you rate the All Blacks after beating the Boks? There it is. Very lucky, travelling well impressive. So for me, I think this is I suppose that litmus test that Scott Robertson and this All Black team were having to go through, Mills. But last night, the occasion, dealing with it, number of injuries going in, didn't know what Springbok team would show up. For you, how did you see it playing out?
Oh, man, I agree with you. I thought it was the most intense test match that I've probably experienced at Eden Park probably since the 2011 Rugby World Cup. The lead up into it, even an hour before the game, the crowd and what it delivered, the fans, both sides. We just spoke about it before. The South Africans were great, but then the All Blacks, and so it was just keep swaying the way it was. For me, really, the game was won in the start. That 14-point buffer, for me, was where the All Blacks sort of won the game. And for South Africa to come back the way that they did, that was why it created... This is why we've got this rivalry, right? They could have come back and drawn it or even won it. There were so many sort of momentum swings in that second half that you had to be on the edge of your seat. And, man, I'm with you. I'm absolutely stoked we won. But what a test match, man.
And, Millsy, to pick up on that, for those of us who were at Mount Smart in 2023... that first 20 minutes of the test, you got a horrible sense of deja vu.
Yes.
That the All Blacks were just going to get too far out in front. And that proved to be the case back then. But this was different.
Yep.
And although, by their own admission, players, coaches, they have to own this defeat. They were the architects of their own demise for big parts of that game. The fight that they showed in that second half, even when down to 14... to have a shot at a draw with a few minutes to go, it was special. It was a proper contest.
Do you feel, though, given your history recently, and I was thinking about it when I was watching this game unfold, and that inevitability of like what's going to happen was that bomb squad coming on, which South Africa have done so well recently. Bang, 6 players like forwards off the bench, boom, game dynamic massively changed. Didn't happen at the weekend. Rasi filtered them in really unusually, not what we're used to.
Well, it was a 5-3 for starters. And I also think...
But why?
If you look at the makeup of that bench, Jan-Hendrik Wessels, Boan Venter, very early in their test careers. Even Wilco Louw was out of test rugby for quite some time. The most experienced forwards on that bench were Loet de Jager and Kwagga Smith. So they perhaps didn't have the personnel to bring that squad on at one time. But I thought they really delivered when they did get their opportunity. And that's a good sign. Yeah. To have a Jan-Hendrik Wessels, who I thought was outstanding, and a Boan Venter, who's 3 tests into his international career, could have qualified for Scotland February next year, but he took the opportunity when it arose. And for them to step up in a game of that magnitude under that kind of pressure is a positive sign.
We're going to go deeper into this test match, but you had some moments last night where they were special, but there was one after the game that you got particularly excited about, and you have to explain why. Because, yes, we're celebrating one of our best on the night in Ardie Savea, his 100th test match, but that's not what you got excited about. You got excited, what's he wearing?
No, to be honest, I only noticed this morning, rewatching the game, and I phoned the producer of Breakdown, and I said, I cannot believe what I'm seeing. I'm seeing this magnificent celebratory wreath around the neck of Ardie Savea, and as I look closer and closer, it's full of peanut slabs.
I mean, which is your favourite chocolate in the world, isn't it?
In the whole entire world.
Your nickname is peanut slab.
If I was ever given a wreath of any description, if it had that many peanut slabs, I'd be a happy man.
Is that one of the biggest you've seen? Ulaloli?
Yeah, I mean, if they have money on it, I think what's so special about it is the effort that goes into it. It takes a lot of time. I remember watching Mum doing it. I'm not having any part of sort of putting ulaloli sort of together. But for you, Matt, I'm not going to do it either, mate. Too much time.
I wanted to go and give him a hug.
And steal a couple.
You never know. In the next week, one might just show up for you. Let's have a look at the Rugby Championship ladder, because there wasn't just action here in New Zealand, there was action in Australia, and it took them 81 minutes to get over Argentina. The All Blacks are on top with the second bonus point. They have Australia sitting second, South Africa, Argentina, but clearly this competition is well and truly in the balance. Let's go back and just recap what was a wonderful test match last night at Eden Park.
If you ever had any doubt about why they call this the greatest rivalry, then those questions have been answered today.
90 seconds to play in Auckland. Desperate defence by the All Blacks. Ardie Savea in his 100th. How many times in his 100 Test matches has Ardie Savea done that?
The All Blacks record at Eden Park remains intact as the heavens open once again.
Not double world champs for no reason. They really pushed us right to the end there.
Just a lot of unforced errors. It's something we'll look at and hope to be better next week.
The depth, the courage, guys like Simon Parker standing up.
They fixed the aerial game and they won that. They won the scraps on the ground. Overall, it's a 7-point game, but they were 7 points better than us.
Well, Ardie Savea and your 100 tests, a titanic tussle. Every young person in this crowd, this is for you. And I just want to say I love you guys. Thank you, and God bless. Stay safe. Mahalo.
I can't remember the last test that hasn't rained at Eden Park, to be fair. Grit and discipline, says Reuters. Savea saves the day, the roar. This is the reaction, media reaction around the world. All Blacks below their best, South Africa Rugby Mag. Did you have any contribution there, Matt? I'm not sure about that one. All Blacks get rub of the green. Interesting concept or idea there. New Zealand bounced back after holding off South Africa at Eden Park battle. That you can absolutely say was true. And sloppy Boks leave it too late to threaten New Zealand before running into Savea.
Give us some love. You know, we won.
Yes, but that's easy. Look, to be fair, I get it. I understand the fact that we've played really well for periods of that game. It was an arm wrestle. Surprising, the fact that people not accepting the All Blacks maybe played pretty well for most of the game. Did what they needed to do to win. But I think, Marshy, the 14 points at the start of the game was significant in terms of the outcome of this test match.
Yeah, look, they were crucial. And I think, look, I'm talking about coaching here, and I'm saying, OK, right, the All Blacks knew what was coming against them, which is the blitz defence. And I think they were smart in areas of the game. First of all, the first try was an example of that. Like, they recognised where South Africa are going to give you space and executed absolutely to perfection. You've got decoy runners all doing their job. So Beauden Barrett knows where he wants to go. Look at the defenders, how tight they are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them in tight. That isolates a one-on-one. Yes, the kick needed to be scrambled by Emoni Narawa, but at the end of the day, it was in the space that the All Blacks knew was being presented to them by the blitz defence. Like, secondly here, they know that the Malcolm Marx defends off the back of the line-out. So they're going, OK, where's that space? How are we going to hit it? Will Jordan wasn't on the wing at this stage of the game. However, they knew that they wanted to hit that zone. Doesn't matter who's on the wing, it's about execution. So what they did was Satiti off the back, long throw, they're going to get a scrambling defender, and when they go in, inside pass to that stage was Will Jordan. Hey, this guy knows how to score tries. But at the end of the day, it was set up because they'd done their research, done their homework, like the cross kick, know where the space is.
And I don't want to take any credit away from the All Black coaching team, but Wayne Smith, to me, had his fingerprints over a number of things in this game in terms of detail. And I know he was there offering advice, delivering maybe a little bit of tidbits. And Scott Robertson talked about that, a different set of eyes, getting the execution of things 100% right. But those two tries just took a lot of the sting out of the Springboks, the fact that they were going to have to work so much harder to get in the game. Rassie Erasmus, straight after the test match, said, we gave up 2 tries. Now, as much as they may look as though they're missed tackles, ultimately we got ourselves, Mills, finally in a one-on-one situation, an area, something we hadn't done most of the season.
When you start the way that they did, and you've got to remember, I mean, that was perfectly executed, the way you've done that, but execution, you've still got to execute at the beginning of the game. Yes, you find the analysis, you do it in training, but it's not until you get under the big lights, where you're under pressure, Ardie Savea to get the second pass out and execute the way they did. Even that last bit, you know, you had a shift to Will Jordan to go on the wing. He still had to make sure that he knew his role. So they executed it well. When you're on the other side of that, it almost becomes an illusion. Man, we've been hit with this 7-pointer and then boom, another one again. It takes you a bit of time to get yourself in the game. And a quality sides, like the Springboks do, it just took them a little bit longer to get things into play. They couldn't get their hands on the ball. And when you're sort of battling that 14-point head start, you're going, man, you're starting to scramble. You're looking at your leaders, and your leaders are going, OK, what do we need to turn to? What are the stuff that we need to go back to? And that's where you find a quality side, and that's what South Africa are. But those 2 moments in the game, excellently sort of executed, the analysis that went in behind it, and when you turn up on a Monday and you're going, man, happy days.
Yeah, homework's homework. Like, they will present you space, the Springboks, have done. And we could, like, pause and hold things across the board over 20 test matches. But it's then about knowing how to execute and doing it perfectly. And those 2 tries, they knew where the space was. It's always there, but you've got to get the players in motion. You've got to get the deception. Like, without those players, like Geordie Barrett coming back, Rico coming short, Guy out the back, the defenders don't hold, do they?
Close to perfection. You've still got to hit that ball over the top of that line-out. I mean, you've still got to be able to risk and execute the way they did to try and hold South Africa. Yeah, they didn't really compete, and so even that becomes a factor. You know, they still had time to sort of shift off. So it was. I just loved looking at stuff like that because of the fact they executed under immense pressure.
Matt, as you were calling the game, as you're watching it as it's playing out, did you see the All Blacks putting the Springboks under pressure in areas, didn't make life easy for Grant Williams, made sure that all of a sudden everything was a little bit disruptive. The fact their line-out competed and was very good. Did you see things that I think were foreign to the Springboks, or the fact they didn't deal with well?
I don't think it's foreign to them. They certainly had a plan. That much was clear, that they wanted to disrupt the kicking game off the base. They put men in the air almost every line-out. So even if the Springboks were winning their ball, which they didn't all the time, but they weren't necessarily winning it on their terms. And just to come back to execution, if you speak to any Springbok coach or player in the environment today or after the game last night, they're saying, you know, they've owned the fact that they had plenty of opportunity. Oh, yeah. Plenty. They had, I think, 12 22-metre entries. And for me, a key part of the game was at the back end of the first half, where they battled to stay in, but then they had those two line-outs just inside New Zealand's 22. The one where the ball was knocked on after a beautiful ball to the back. They were obviously wanting a strike play off the back of that line-out. And then Pollard got the 50-22 with seconds remaining in the half. They had another opportunity and
just didn't quite nail it.
They didn't nail those little details.
And then the kick-off, off points. You know, Lou Diego got in front, and you know, it's like...
Got back to 17.
You're not used to seeing that with the Springboks. They're so methodical nowadays.
And I think that's what sort of surprised us as we're calling the game, going, you're not taking opportunities. We're used to being so efficient. Seeing the Springboks just nail fundamental things, the fact that we really weren't stressed for long periods of time. We just needed to put enough pressure on. How much of that could be attributed to the conditions? It bucketed down. About 5 minutes into the game, all of a sudden the game changed its context. There's a couple of questions here, the fact, and one of them is in particular, Justin, asking you, and we've talked about this, the kicking game, and we know there was a huge number of box kicks in this game from both sides. But was that simply about the fact the conditions changed, the fact the circumstances changed in regards to the fact the All Blacks got up 14-0 or 14-3? Are we in a situation, this is Todd asking this question, is it just, once again, is it too much of it too often?
Look, Todd, I'm going to say no. I feel that the game basically presented itself, both teams, into a situation within those times outside of the 22 where there's a real battle going on for territory and contesting of the ball. Look, I think both of them went in with an idea that they wanted to own that zone. And then you earned your right to get inside the 22, which South Africa, like off the back of what you've said, didn't own it. They went in there too many times off the back of winning that little battle between the halfway and the 10-metre lines, but then didn't execute. Whereas the All Blacks, I think, they won those little micro battles within that. Look, box kicking, we've had thoughts about this. Look, personally, if I'm going to throw myself out there and lob a grenade into the mix, I think we kick too much from 9, our team. I think we can kick a lot more off 10, get Geordie Barrett going down the middle, get Billy Proctor chasing, and isolate a fullback rather than putting into a zone where there's numbers. But anyway, off the back of that question, no, it wasn't the conditions. I just think it was part of a strategy from both teams. Springboks did it as much as us.
Mills, when you think about then some selection possibilities going forward, Nick from Waiheke goes, do you think the coaches will keep Damian McKenzie at fullback now? Given the fact the way the combinations...
I'm so glad you went to him.
Well, let's go to the poll then. Let's give him a chance at home. We'll give Mills a chance to think about it because I've thrown that at him. I've thrown it in there. The fact, let's go to the poll and give you the opportunity. Who should be the All Blacks back three in Wellington? There you go. You've got Ioane, McKenzie, Jordan. Clark, McKenzie, Jordan. Clark, Jordan, Ioane. And you've got Ioane, Jordan and Fahanganuku. So we've got Caleb Clark, who's got through his time today for Auckland, 2 games on the bounce now. Now I'll come to you, Mills. Now I'll come to you, and the fact the subtle changes that have been made. And Damian McKenzie did a good job, particularly in those conditions. And if you watch him, good and strong in the air.
Yeah, I think you bring a Clark back as, you know, we spoke about even before this test match, that he's our best aerial back three player. So you bring him back. Damien McKenzie done a great job, but the reason why I'd say put him on the bench again would be because I want Will Jordan at fullback. I think he's best suited at fullback, and I'd like to see that back three happen. I agree with you in terms of the kicking game. I think that even that 14-3-point sort of start, it gave us a little bit of comfort. You know, South Africa took a little bit longer to adjust, and they had to take a bit of time to adjust because of the pressure that we're putting on them. You know, we almost went into there saying, you know, the back three, okay, yes, they're going to get bombarded with kicks, but we've got to stop it at the source, and that's what they did. And that's why when you say kicking from 9, I don't like that either. I'd love to see the back three being moved around a bit. Isolate guys, get in the middle of the park, put one guy, then put it up. But, hey, last night I thought, you know, the way Finlay Christie box kicked and how effective it was for us was good.
In saying that, though, Mills, I'm going to come to you, Matt, about this. The contest between the All Blacks and Springboks now, the margins are so very, very small in terms of the fact that there's a DNA we think that we'd love to play against, but sometimes you play the top sides who put pressure on us so good defensively. Are we in danger of maybe trying to want to play too much? Or the fact that we know, you know the margins between these teams. There's been nothing. It was nothing last year. It's probably going to be nothing next week after last night. You know, that it's going to be close. I mean, when you look at the All Blacks, what is it you see in terms of the way that they play? Or the way we might like to play?
Well, I think they're playing more like South Africa played if you go back.
I wanted to know whether you'd say it because we kicked the ball.
True. We've discussed this throughout the week. You know, there's a lot more kicking. There's more box kicking. And then if you compare it to the Springboks, 2018, 2019, the Springboks had to turn their whole environment around. They had not a lot of time to do it. And they were hugely criticised in Japan in 2019 for the box kicking, but it worked. And then we were robbed of 20 months of Test rugby, and you go into a British and Irish Lions series in 2021 with no Test rugby. So you can't reinvent yourself there. And so there were elements prior to 2023 where you saw a little bit more with ball in hand from the box. But these last couple of years, since Rugby World Cup in France, there has been this evolution. So what are the Springboks trying to do? I see people saying, oh, they're going away from their DNA. I don't believe that at all. You've got to know that you can go back to what is comfortable for you, but you have to evolve. You can't become too predictable. And that's a process. And you've got to stick to that process. So if the All Blacks are going down that road saying, we've actually got to learn to play a bit more like that when the situation demands it, then you've got to be patient.
And I 100%, I think that South Africa has evolved the most out of any other team in world rugby. I mean, you think about it, and we go now into the second test, and the calibre of player they've got, you talk about your DNA and the kicking side, but then you go to expansive and use guys like Fussy and, Fane Bogie and Zulu. But you've got a different calibre of fish there, a different sort of style, and they're comfortable going to that. And then you even bring Pollard back into the mix when you sort of need him. That's what South Africa has shown. You can't say any other team in the world can actually do that with
you know what the difference is for me, though? Like, it's so clear. Is, look, whatever DNA it is, and you're right in what you're saying, Matt, but it's the accuracy. Like, the Springboks' accuracy in their kick strategy is so accurate. I thought they were off last night. I did. And the All Blacks were able to compete. They're usually so methodical. They're usually so good. And the All Blacks got a chance to compete a little bit, and we're in the contest. It's not about the strategy of when we're going to kick, it's how you kick and how you win the ball back or how you put the opposition under pressure. And the All Blacks haven't been good at that. And last night I felt that we got parity at least in that regard. You know, we didn't win every contest, but before that, against the French and Argentina, we were 70-30 winning those. And for a team that's got that strategy in them, like the Springboks, who are so very accurate, great kickers, Williams and Pollard, that's a big win for us, I think.
I'm going to just change tact a little bit here because there was a comeback on in the fact that the last 20 minutes, the impact coming off the bench once again, and Rasmus talked about it after the Test match, really happy with the guys that came on and changed the course. You think about the fact that we've got comments here talking, first and foremost, great to put a face to the commentary. That's the first one. It's
not everybody says that.
Oh, yeah, I know. You said it, we weren't going to comment, nothing to say about that whatsoever. But ultimately, there was a couple of moments, and one in particular, where a statement was made, and it's not often you see an All Black scrum go backwards. I think it was about the 60th minute mark. But this was a pivotal moment in the game. And this, we're only watching it once, that's it. You're not getting to see it again. But this is pivotal in the fact that No, I said we'd only play it once.
Super slow-mo, please. That's just glorious. Look at it. On an all-black feed.
Yes.
Bask in the glory. It's not going to happen again. Those boys are looking at it. But once again, though, we had troubles in 2024 in our last 20 minutes. Does that give you optimism in the fact going to Wellington that clearly the Springbok side is going to be better? Do you expect a response? You saw a response in South Africa after the loss to Australia in the first test. Are you expecting a response? And what changes might we see?
The changes are very difficult to call. And I'll tell you why. I'm not trying to avoid the question and try and give something away, I promise you. But last year, 2024, post a World Cup win, 50 players used in 13 test matches. This year, so far, there have been 47 players used in the test matches played so far in 2025. So there is an element of experimentation and building new and different combinations. I think everybody knows that not all of those World Cup winners from 2023 are going to make it to 2027. And by the end of this Rugby Championship and heading to an end-of-year tour where you play France and Ireland, I think Rassie and his team are going to have a very clear idea of what they're going to go forward with. And into the greatest rivalry tour of South Africa next year, the year out from a Rugby World Cup. Because if you're going to make a call on somebody who's not going to make it to the World Cup, it's a brutal call, but it's got to be made soon because you need to put test caps into those players who are going to step into
which is massive for us, because we've got to think about this as well. 10 jersey.
For Saturday.
Handré Pollard, would he be there at the next Rugby World Cup?
I do believe Handré Pollard will be there. That's my opinion. He's only 31 years of age now. He wasn't
there last time until the quarterfinals, we're saying, wasn't
he? Don't forget.
So he'll be there in the back half.
And don't forget he replaced Malcolm Marx.
Yes, he did too. Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so, yes,
but that's massive for us, 'cause that's such a pivotal jersey. You're talking goal kicker, driver. That's a jersey.
Did not
and so you've got to bank on that jersey, though, Matt, is what I'm saying. Feinberg and Gomazulu,
fantastic.
He was awesome off the bench.
Yeah.
No?
He can start. He started against the All Blacks last year.
Yeah.
At Ellis Park. And you know, that's the thing. You've got to give all your squad members that opportunity to front up against the best. If you look at the selection yesterday, Ruan Nokia at number 5 instead of Luat Diaga, but Rassie spoke about it during the week. Ruan Nokia has never been to New Zealand until the last 10 days because, you know, he didn't play Super Rugby. He had a fantastic season last year, breakout season for him. This was his first time in New Zealand. Ethan Hooker, 22 years of age, Sasha Feinberg and Gomazulu, never been to New Zealand before. So, and you've got to mix those with your more experienced players and see how they respond, given the situation.
Well, it'll be very interesting because, like you say, there's probably been more consistency in terms of selection out of the All Blacks than there has clearly out of the Springboks. Well, last week, what we did as a panel, we picked 5 of our very best Springboks from the eras gone by. Well, Matty, he's volunteered, Matt has, his top 5 All Blacks that he could come up with that didn't include us.
No, but I need to say a few things.
No, roll it, carry on. I don't want an excuse.
Out to Collins. Collins fires a lovely pass.
Oh, lovely.
Rico gears in. What a pass, Jerry Collins.
Oh, outstanding rugby.
Here's Collins. Puts it on the boot, Jerry Collins. And the All Blacks coming. There's only All Blacks there. It's all over. Christian Cullen. Skirting blindside. Cullen in. Cullen with his pace. Now he's got to do it on his own. Isn't he just brilliant?
Whitelock goes up and wins it. Sam Whitelock picked his moment.
Got the pass up to Reid. Now Whitelock puts his foot down. Close. There. Sam Whitelock. Now Carter. Carter stepping. Carter going. Carter.
Try. But Aaron Smith now has it. Carter has a drop kick. Carter. It is over.
Fielded again by Carter. Puts it on the boot and chases and gets it. McCaw's in. Nicely snapped up by McCaw, puts it onto the boot. Now the race is on. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's magnificent. Richie McCaw in the corner.
Incredible try.
Take it away. Explain away.
Two things.
Two things.
First of all, a lot of my friends, when I told them I was asked to do this, how can you not put Jonah in there? So, little caveat, Jonah was incredible. He redefined rugby for many of us, but he didn't have a fantastic record against South Africa. So just let me put that out there. And then secondly, I wrote into the producer and I said, top 3, Marshall, Muliaina.
Too late now, man. The footage already rolled.
And I stood on those peanut slabs I was going to give you.
He said, no, you can't choose them. Too close to home.
Thank you, mate.
So I think Carter and McCaw are pretty obvious for any Springbok fan, and also Christian Cullen. He was just something special. He was electrifying. We loved watching him in Super Rugby. And then Jerry Collins, I'm going on the advice of my friend and broadcast colleague, Skalkberger. Skalkberger says, and I see he was in your top 5 on the show last week, Sculler says that Jerry Collins was simply the hardest rugby player he ever played against, but he was fantastic off the field as well. Looking forward to going to Porirua this coming week, where the Springboks are going to train to the Jerry Collins stand. And then Sam Whitelock.
Sam Whitelock.
You know, need you say more? I mean, just a fantastic guy, most capped All Black over so many seasons, just consistent, consistently good. And I had to get another forward in there.
Well, we're trying to find forwards for this show constantly.
We're fine.
There's no problem
worry,
at all. Let's have a look at the polls as it comes through right now. How do you rate the All Blacks after beating the Boks? They're travelling well, impressive. So 85% are pretty positive about where the All Blacks are sitting right now after that Test match. And who should be the All Blacks back 3 in Wellington? Ioane, McKenzie, Jordan. No, it's Clark, McKenzie and Jordan. Caleb Clark, after getting a run for Auckland, getting a win for Auckland, he is maybe get a run this weekend in Wellington. What you do now have an opportunity to do, though, is get your tickets to the first Bledisloe Cup game between the All Blacks and the Wallabies. Guess what? It's at Eden Park. So now you can get 15% off up until 9 p.m. Get your phone out, the South Stand, scan that QR code, and you can get in and buy your tickets, because you're going to want to be there. Because the Wallabies, they are coming. Looking forward to that. But what I can tell you, there were so many special moments last night at Eden Park. But for me, one of them was before the Test match even began.
Scramble for the sheds and go back to the whiteboard to try and work out a way back into this contest. Ika with some passing. Oh, he lays it off, and Australia are in. Round the corner, Sterling steps to the outside, and now just goes himself. Big Sue is on the board for his second. He gets it away.
Welcome back to the breakdown. The Wallabies are a vastly different team in 2025. The work they've done through the Lions series, all of a sudden, it's bearing fruit for them. The fact they are getting better and better, and they just won't go away. You talked about it earlier on the show, Justin. The fact that they're getting behind and finding a way. I've just got one comment to make. All of a sudden, they've got a scrum. Their scrum is not an area that other teams can attack like they've attacked in the past, which means we're going to have to be on our guard.
Well, you talk about any rugby team, doesn't matter whether it's international or club rugby, platform is key. So they've got a platform to work off. I don't think there's ever been any debate about their ability. They've got great ability. The thing that I've noticed the most recently is if you put, even when I was playing, and so this is going back a long time, you put points on Australia, you know you've got them. And there's no real ability for them to come back. They've had points on them this year against the Lions, this test match at the weekend. They've got some fight in them. They're not going to give up the ghosts. And that's a sign of not only a team that's got ability, skill set, platform, and all of those things that you need to be a really good test side and a world-class side. You've got a little bit of determination and guts about you. Loved it.
Braden from Auckland Centre, are we underestimating the Aussies with the form and ability? I don't think we're underestimating them now, Mills, with what they've done to date this season.
Oh, I think they're very much in the picture later on. South Africa was a huge thing for us, right? Getting that game last night under our belt, leading to Wellington. But we know they are very much on the radar, what they've done. And I agree with you. They've got that spine back, you know, that set piece sort of dominance. And when you look on the back end, what you mentioned about last night, when we were dominated going backwards, that's where Australia have really shored up. And I think their captain, like if there's an inspirational person in their side right now, Harry Wilson is driving that team. And perhaps, you know, there's something in there that he's initiated or ignited in that group that is really starting to fire.
And saw it firsthand in South Africa.
Absolutely.
In fact, and when you went to those test matches and called those test matches, what did you notice about this Wallaby team?
Belief.
Yep.
To add to what you've quite rightly pointed out, that belief. They were 22 points to 0 down at Ellis Park, and they won 38-22.
Which is a graveyard, isn't it? We've all been there.
Far
if you're 22 points down at Ellis Park, you're like, OK, sorry about that.
Off the back of 20 minutes of the best rugby that I think I've ever seen a Springbok team play, and we know it's an 80-minute game, but those 20 minutes were extraordinary. But they never lost belief. And I think you're right about the captain. I think Valentini makes a difference in that side. They get gain line, which they didn't always. You know, Skelton and Valentini made such a difference when they came back into the Lions mix. And that second test against the Lions turned in the Lions' favour when those two were off. And then also that the shortest retiring scrum off in the history of Test rugby, Nick White.
Oh, man. Keeps delivering, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Like, honestly. And at the week, he's just so determined. Yeah. And tenacious and fights for every little metre, every little inch that's within that game. He wants to win it.
So there's two pieces of leadership. One was the All Blacks did something at Eden Park where they turned down 3 and went to the corner to go from 7 to 14. Significant. And then you see last night, the Wallabies have a chance, 3 chances to tie the game. Instead, they turn around, you know what, we're going to go out and try and win it. You talk about belief, you talk about inspiring players around you. Mills, this is significant for Australian rugby because every game, and as we know, it doesn't take long for the Wallabies to get confidence. They're going from strength to strength every game.
This is what creates it. You turn those 3 opportunities down, but then you nail it like this. The belief that they now sort of had from South Africa, you know, they're coming back home and they win a game like this. They're going next level, and they are looking dangerous.
And we can't have this discussion without mentioning the name of Joe Schmidt. I mean, he's taken some flack from an ex-Wallaby winger when he picked James O'Connor for not knowing anything about coaching. Well, let me tell you, he's proved time and again. He put Ireland on a platform, Joe Schmidt. He came and helped the All Blacks, if my understanding is correct. And look at what he's done. With an Australian team that was bleeding last year.
And quickly, let's not underestimate Argentina either. Because they were very, very good. They scored some remarkable tries last night. You know, the fact that they had that game, a game they probably should have won. They'd just beaten the All Blacks at home, Marshy. They're a constant threat now. Still struggling for that consistency, but getting closer, though, than they have been.
Bang on. That's what you said. Consistency. Like that, they are capable. They could beat any one of the sides in this rugby championship, and they've proven that by beating the All Blacks. You know, and they've beaten the All Blacks in New Zealand, which is, man, that's not easy to do. But man, like if they just manage to sort of harness all of that talent, all of that ability to be in a contest, and turn that to regular results, like they'd be a force to be reckoned with. Like they've beaten the Lions. Their success that we highlighted in one of the earlier shows on Breakdown this year, they've beaten all the top 5 teams in the world.
Yeah, 100%. And isn't this championship illustrating how strong Southern Hemisphere rugby is. We just need the Springboks or South Africa and the Argies back in Super Rugby, right?
Yeah, come on.
Not bad.
Show us some love. We'll give you peanut slabs.
Let us in, Marshy.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. The collateral.
Let's move on.
Just quickly, Jakey Boy's got this comment here. ABs have a great win. Canterbury putting 50 on South and the mighty Mid-Canterbury hammer 80 points on the East Coast. Well, that's some sort of weekend. Do you know Jakey?
No, I don't.
Be tight mate of yours, probably.
Yeah. No doubt we've seen each other at the Riverton pub or somewhere like that.
Down south. It's been a remarkable Rugby World Cup to date. This is the third week we are going into. The Black Ferns, they take on Ireland this weekend. Let's have a look at three of the best tries from the weekend so far.
Now coming back onto the inside, Serevi, the offload sticking, Narawa looking for an offload partner, and back onto the inside, here's Josephine Narawa. Josephine Narawa gets two.
Black pass, now through the hands, big, looping ball forwards. England racing away, Breach scoring the try.
I think they're going to run into contact and they just go one more pass further out and there's another one to Alonama. That quintessential offload of hers, and now Frida Tafuna again. Look out, Samoa. Frida Tafuna has her second try.
Look at this is just absolutely brilliant to see. Both teams coming together in celebration as we say farewell to Samoa.
Well, this is the fixtures that are coming up. Some celebrations, there's great rivalries, but there's also great camaraderie at this tournament. The Black Ferns taking on Ireland, 12:45 tomorrow. Massive game in terms of what's coming up in the tournament. And France taking on South Africa. South Africa, who have already qualified for the quarterfinals. It's just who they play and who they'd like to try and avoid. Well, it's time now to go back overseas to the UK, and it's been York, and then it's been Exeter. Now Brighton. Taylor Curtis joins us once again. What a beautiful day. Is that standard in Brighton? Is that what you've been experiencing recently, Taylor?
I wish I could lie to you, but it was hailing down. It's raining miserable. But today, it's a picture and perfect for the Black Ferns taking on Ireland. I mean, I wish I brought my joggers going for a run down here. It's beautiful.
Yeah, that's what we do on tour every time we're over there. Absolutely, Taylor. Look at these guys. They're laughing at me right now. Ultimately, this game for the Black Ferns against Ireland is absolutely critical. Some changes in terms of selections. Do you like this team for this game?
Yeah, I think the Black Ferns know what's what's up for grabs, the top spot of that pool, because then it really just generates a smoother transition into the finals, if that makes sense. So depending on the game that's coming in after, France against South Africa, but this game in particular is a revenge game. The last time Ireland and Black Ferns met each other last year, Ireland had beat us with 2 points over, and that same first five, Dana O'Brien is at that position again, and she has been killing it this competition, getting all the meters, getting her team out of bad situations, and she's going to be reigning it today, especially against this side. But I like what Alan Bunting and the coaching group have chosen with the Black Ferns. He's gone with two fullbacks in that back three just to counter those kicks.
Taylor, it's interesting because we quite often talk about how the Black Ferns are going to play to win this Rugby World Cup. Have you seen their game evolve as they've gone through this tournament? And how do you expect them to attack this game, maybe looking to the future of what's coming up?
I think, well, this game in particular, they're talking about that cohesion and just getting very familiar, playing alongside one another, because we actually haven't seen their full, the first top 15 spot from this Black Ferns side, and this is what they're trying to create. But those first two games, don't get me wrong, there was a little bit clunky there, but I think it showed us areas that we of concern and areas that we need to uplift. But again, once you're in that black jersey, regardless of All Blacks, Black Ferns, you step up to the mark, and when there's someone that's coming against you, I think they'll rise to the occasion today.
Taylor, it's clear, though, the top teams are really starting to fire. Let's track England in terms of their game and the way that they played this weekend, in terms of their performance. A little bit slow to get going, but once they get going, they look as dangerous as ever.
Yeah, I mean, they got put under a lot of pressure against Australia, especially that first half. They had hardly seen any of the ball, but defensively, that was threatening for them. But there's news now that they've potentially lost their fullback, Ellie Kildan, who's the face of the Rugby World Cup at the moment. She's not going to be available for that quarter-final against Scotland, but I mean, that's a Six-Nation rivalry in itself. I don't think they got too much to worry, but there were some parts. I mean, they were a little bit pipped at the line-out. There was a few scrum penalties, which is something we haven't seen from England before. So, I mean, it's good, hopeful for us as a Black Fern Nation, but, I mean, you know, fingers crossed, anything can happen in this.
Taylor, it's always great catching up, getting the lowdown. There's still plenty of light in the day, I'm sure. The runners can go on, go for a little trot down Brighton Beach. It'll be great. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Before we talk about the Black Ferns, for South African rugby, just making the quarterfinals has been huge for this group of women.
No, absolutely extraordinary achievement, and we are just so proud of them. And I was chatting to some of the coaches and players in the Springboks during the course of the week, and we recorded messages to send to the Springbok women who are participating in the World Cup what this win meant to them. You know, they'd lost to Italy in South Africa a couple of times, but always the margins were getting closer and closer. They went into this World Cup as the number 12 ranked side in the world, and they beat Italy, and they've qualified for a quarterfinal for the first time. There is resource behind women's rugby now in South Africa, and it's showing, and just so proud of them.
For the Black Ferns, Mills, this is a pivotal game, though, but an important game if you want to get confidence going into the knockout games, knowing what's coming. You don't want any slip-ups against the likes of Ireland.
Oh, how good is a bit of vengeance too, to add a bit of edge to the game, especially when you sort of, you know, Taylor mentioned it, they're clunky performances, although they're convincing performances. Good chance for the team to really start to gel and get a performance in a convincing one, but a cohesive one at the same time, leading into the quarterfinals.
Rugby World Cup, it is live on Sky. There it is. Black Ferns taking on Ireland tonight. Sky Sport 1 from 12:45. We've got to do it at some point. We have to talk about Canterbury. We're going to do it after the break.
Here a pin drop here at Navigation Home Stadium. And he has ice into his veins, nails the kick.
Gilbert back on his feet, hopping back to his post. At fullback as Otago come away through Casey. This will be a special try.
What a special day it is for Tom Parsons, playing his 100th game for the Magpies today. Inari, Sullivan, going wide now. Tawatavalu stepping, and Hawke's Bay get a good one.
Gets his pass away to Cameron, now Wild. Drew Wild.
Is Chapman throws the wide ball down the short side for Gardner, getting the pass away beautifully, and there it is, Putty by inside. Oh, Chapman! The Ranfurly Shield will be heading back to Canterbury.
OK, let's talk about it. I do know for a fact the Ranfurly Shield went everywhere in Southland. Everywhere, every establishment, everyone saw it, got to touch it, and then it moved on. Just in the break, we were talking about how important it is. Mills and I never had the privilege. Justin had the privilege, but there are some things that are special. What's special in South Africa in terms of the domestic game that players, they hold on to?
Well, you spoke about it earlier, the Curry Cup, you know, and although some of the top players in the pool stages haven't necessarily been playing, it's something that every South African player wants to win. And Skalkberger and Jean de Villiers talk about it. They never won one with Western Province, and it hurts. You know, you really want to win that piece of silver.
Well, that's winning a title, a domestic title. You talk about the domestic title now. Canterbury undefeated, got the Ranfurly Shield. Next weekend, though, she's an All Crusaders affair at home, Tasman.
Well, it's a win-win, Jeff.
How many wins can you have?
You know, for the franchise, you know, so...
You're like him, but you can pick teams, but ultimately, you think about overall, though, Canterbury right now, Mills, the team to beat. Like, they're so consistent, playing such good rugby. Everyone else is a little bit up and down. Yeah. There's been some remarkable results this weekend.
Yeah, they're in sync, aren't they? I mean, and you think about the calibre they've got, they're fairly healthy in terms of their players, but go down to Invercargill, packed stadium, and do what they did. You know, it was game done and dusted by half-time, wasn't it?
Yeah, and look, the thing with Canterbury is, like, I felt leading into this Shield challenge, look, they didn't really have more All Blacks than what Waikato did. So it's like, righto, Southland will take this as being an opportunity for them to retain the Shield and keep it down south. But this Canterbury side is impressive, like really impressive. Like they're not building themselves around All Blacks, they're building themselves around a few core All Blacks, but they're very good in their method, they know their DNA, they know the way they want to play. The game at the weekend set up really well against Tasman. Like Tasman's just been beaten by Auckland, but you just bin all that stuff, don't you?
Yeah.
And that's the unique nature that we have with the Ranfurly Shield. Like you talk about the Currie Cup, we've obviously got the NPC title up for grabs. That's big. But within that competition is the Ranfurly Shield, which New Zealand just has this enigma of having this trophy that is historic and coveted, and every player, when they get their opportunity, your season could be gone. Do you know what I mean? But the Ranfurly Shield then comes up and you get a challenge out of nowhere.
The Ranfurly Shield's seen a lot of the players and they're off the field.
You can't plan for it. You can't even plan for it now.
No, you can't.
There are teams that are plotting, well, how am I going to get a chance to win it? You know, you start going through the draw going, well, if they beat them and they beat them, there's a chance we might get a chance. You might not, for 5 years, you might not get a crack at it just by circumstance. Makes it special.
Yeah.
This weekend, though, as much as that's important, we've got a return game in Wellington. And at Sky Stadium hasn't been kind to the All Blacks, let's be fair, but we broke that last year. We found a way to win a test match there. When you look at what happened last night and players have to recover and reset, are you expecting a similar type contest when we get down to Wellington?
I am. I think it'll be tight. I think there's some very fixable things for the Springboks. I think they would be the first to admit that their line-out misfired, albeit under a lot of contesting pressure from the All Blacks. Those are things you can fix. A couple of defensive little things that can be sorted, a couple of system errors. But yes, I do expect another tight affair, but also good memories of Wellington. You know, we haven't lost the last 2 occasions we've been there, so looking forward to that.
I knew you'd take the whole show. At some point, you would get it in there. What are you expecting? What are you expecting?
Response for the Springboks. Yep. Interest to me is about where the All Blacks go, selection-wise. Obviously, Narawa's out. Cody Taylor looks like he's going to be out. So there's going to be some selection issues again for the All Blacks, and they are not form result. You know, they are around injuries and concussion, whatever they might be. Just real quickly, South Africa intrigues me. Where they go from where they are now. Look, they've lost a couple of games this year, and it's like, righto, where do we go from here?
I'm just looking forward to Jasper Wiese's first carry.
Thank you. I'm excited by the All Blacks. I think there's plenty of room for stuff that we can get right. We've got Eden Park out of the way now. Yeah. You've got to get excited about what's to come, and I'm looking forward to what's on the bench. Whether we do go to a 6-2 split. I think there's
the All Blacks are 6-2.
Yep.
Come on, we've been the breakdown is 6-2, mate.
That's what we are. They're not listening. I tell you what, on this show we get a lot of love on here for Mills Muliaina, but it has shifted to Matt Pearce on here. The people at home. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a great discussion, debate. We can't wait to do it all again next week in 7 days' time. We will see you then.
Barrett puts a kick across to the right wing side where Emoni Narawa waits. He's through. Emoni Narawa. First try for the All Blacks. Quinton